Okay, algebra. We have been dealing with quadratics and parabola, so now we're going to officially take some notes here. Okay, so how do you graph a parabola that's in vertex form? Okay, so here's a couple of things. A quadratic equation is any equation whose degree is 2. This means that the highest power will be a 2. Okay, for example, y equals x squared plus 3x minus 4. Okay, the highest power is a 2. This is a quadratic equation. Y equals 7. And then I've got x minus 5 quantity squared, which means that the highest power, let's say plus 1, is also 2. Okay, not x to the third. Let's just write a note, okay? Not x to the third, not x to the fourth, not x to the first. We're talking about x to the power of 2. Okay, when the quadratic equation is graphed, it looks like the letter U. And we call this graph a parabola. Parabola. Okay, so here's a parabola that opens up. Okay, we say opens up. We put 2 arrows on it because it goes up forever. Maybe the parabola looks like this. Be sure to put your arrows, okay, so it goes down, down, down forever. This one opens down, okay? When you look at this one, some people say, well, this looks like a bowl, okay? And this right here, that's the lowest point, okay? And then right here, here's a hill, and this is the highest point of the hill. I go up, 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 and then that's the turning point, and then it goes down, okay? So this is the vertex. The vertex there is at a maximum because everything else goes down. This is the vertex right here. But this vertex, okay, this one is a minimum. That's the lowest point of the bowl. It's like a bowl shape. Okay. All right, key features of a parabola. Okay, let's talk about vertex. Vertex is what we call the turning point. The turning point. So I look at this parabola right here. Here's the equation. See that power of 2? Okay, it's a quadratic. This is a nicely drawn parabola with arrows. Okay, this is like a bowl. And the lowest point right here, okay, this is the minimum. The minimum. And that's also called the vertex. The vertex is a point. It's a point. How do you say a point? Okay, with parentheses. And so this is the point 1 to the right, -4 down. 1, -4. Okay, axis of symmetry. Okay, I can slice this parabola right down the middle in half. Okay, you have to go like this. Draw a dotted line. Draw a line with arrows. This is a vertical line. Vertical lines. I'm going to write VUX. V for vertical. The equation of this line is x equals, and it goes right through 1. It passes through the number 1. That vertex right there, he's got an x of 1. Hey, look at this. X equals 1. Is it always going to be x? Yes, because it's vertical. Is that number always going to match that number? Yes. Okay, that's a fast, easy way of doing that. The y-intercept is where it touches the y-axis. So I have to look at the y-axis. The parabola touches the y-axis, okay, right here. That is the y-intercept. That's the point 0, -3. Does the number always go in the y place? Of course. All right, let's try it again. Here's a parabola that's opening down. So some people say this looks like a hill. And this is the highest point of the hill. That's called the vertex. For this problem, the vertex happens to be at a maximum because it's the highest point. The vertex is a point. Okay, it's a point. So we have to say parentheses. 1, 2 to the right, and then 1 up. Axis of symmetry is a line. Okay, I'm going to require that you draw it, and then we'll write it. So let's draw a dotted line right down the middle, right through his vertex. Put your arrows. And this line, this is a vux again. It's always a vux, a vertical line, x equals. You could look here. You could look at the point. Some people look right there at that x equals 2. Okay. Does this parabola cross the y-axis? It does cross the y-axis right here. Okay. The y-intercept is at 0, -3 again. Okay. All right. How do we graph in vertex form? Okay. So take a look at this. This is how the equation is going to be given to you in this form. Okay. Y equals a. There's going to be a number there. Okay. X minus h, quantity squared plus k. So where is the vertex? The vertex is going to be right here. H, comma, k. If it says minus h, we'll say a positive h. If it says plus h, then we'll say a negative k. So we have to say the opposite. The opposite. Is k the opposite? No, k is just regular. Plus 5, you'd put a plus 5. Okay. What does this a do right here? Positive a equals opens up. And a negative a means that you open down. Okay, so that's what a tells us. H and k, these two numbers right here, tell us the vertex. The axis of symmetry is always going to be x equals. Okay, and remember we said it's always going to be the x number, so it's going to be the h. That's going to match the x value of your vertex. Okay, and how do you find a y-intercept? It's always 0, comma something. And how are we going to find that? Plug 0 in for x. Okay, x equals to 0. Plug that in and then calculate the y for the y-intercept. All right, here's your official notes. I'm going to walk you through a couple till you get better. We'll practice this in class tomorrow. Okay, so looking at this, okay, I'm looking at the a value right there. That's a positive. So I'm just going to write that the graph opens up. And I'm going to draw a little doodle. Make sure when I draw that it looks like that. The U shape opens up. Okay, I have to make sure I get that on the graph paper. The vertex. Okay, right here it says -1. So I'm going to write +1. And then if this says +3, I write a +3. You only change the x. The k stays the same. All right, axis of symmetry is going to be x equals the x number, 1. All right, and then the y-intercept, we're going to have to do a little bit of work. I'm going to plug 0 into the x spot. Let's calculate y equals 2. I said that the x number was going to be 0, -1, quantity squared, +3. So we have to be good at calculating this. Okay, and this all can be done in our calculator, of course. If you want to do everything at once, it's going to look a little bit like this. 2, open parentheses, 0 -1, quantity squared, +3. So when I plug it in, I get 5. Y equals 5. So the y-intercept is 0, 5. Okay. So being able to find the information is part of it, but then we have to sketch the graph. Okay, the first thing we'll do is plug the vertex. +1, +3. Okay, so there's the vertex. The y-intercept is 0, 5. Okay, and then the axis of symmetry is x equals 1. So this is slicing the parabola right down the middle. Okay, now let me tell you an important trick here. If the parabola opens up, and this is a line of symmetry, if there's one dot to the left of this line, there's going to be one point to the right. Does that make sense for your shape? It's got to be even Steven. A line right down the middle. If this point was 2 boxes to the left, put 1 2 boxes to the right. Okay, and remember it's opening up. Okay, let's take a look at one more. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is look at the A value. Since the A is negative, this parabola opens down. Okay, so we're going to go down like that. And then this is going to be V for vertex. I just like to draw that so I make sure when I sketch my graph, I know what I'm doing. Okay, vertex. I have to get 2 numbers. This says +2, so the vertex must be at -2. Okay, that's the change. And then if it says -1, it's at -1. We change and we keep. Okay, axis of symmetry. X equals that number -2 right there. Okay. And to find the y-intercept, we're going to have to do some work. We're going to plug 0 in, and we're going to get the number. So y equals, let's work with this equation. I'm going to plug 0 into the x spot. I'm just going to use my calculator again. -1, 0 plus 2, quantity squared, and I get the value of -5. Okay, so that means that the y-intercept must be at 0, -5. Let's go see how this looks on a graph. Okay, the vertex is -2, -1. The y-intercept is 0, -5. Okay. And the axis of symmetry is a vertical line going right through -2. Okay. Wherever your vertex is, that's where your line of symmetry should be. Okay. So take a look at this. There's a point 2 to the right. So I'm going to make one go 2 to the left. Okay. And the parabola is opening down. Let me show you guys a couple things too that we should probably get pretty good at. Okay, what about the value -1? I know that there's a point somewhere. So sometimes what people do is they try to be a little better with their graphing. They get curious. What if I plugged in -1 into the equation? So I'm just going to hit second enter. I'm going to plug -1 into the equation. So what I'm doing is I'm taking right here y equals, instead of plugging in 0, I'm plugging in -1 to see what the y number is. And the y number is -2. Okay, we are going to have to find some more points at some point here. 1 to the left, 2 down. Here, this is a nice point. And if there's 1 to the right, there must be 1 to the left. It helps you draw your graph a little more accurately, and it might help us answer some questions in the future. Okay, so if you want to find a point in the middle, you could always plug in that number. I could have plugged in the number -3. I would probably get -2. I could have found the 1 to the left, and then I'd copy it to the right. Okay? All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.